The illusion of the perfect gentleman. Imagine you finally landed a date with a woman who is genuinely high tier. The kind of woman who is smart, funny, and so stunning that she commands the attention of every room she enters. Because you value her, you pull out the perfect gentleman playbook that society, movies, and even your mother taught you. You are consistent, you are kind, and you are endlessly giving. You shower her with flowers just because it's Tuesday. You curate elaborate, expensive dates to show her you're a provider. You send that good morning text like clockwork, ensuring she wakes up every single day knowing exactly where she stands with you. You think you are building a foundation of security and love, but in reality, you are digging the grave of her attraction. You are operating under the massive delusion that being a nice guy is the fast track to a woman's heart, when in fact, you are slowly suffocating the very spark that brought you together. While you're patting yourself on the back for being the perfect partner, something catastrophic is happening behind the scenes. She starts taking longer to reply to your messages. Her tone becomes shorter, more clinical, and less playful. The physical intimacy that was once effortless starts to feel like a chore, or worse, disappears entirely. You realize she's pulling away, so your instinct is to double down. You buy more flowers, you send even sweeter texts, and you try even harder to please her. You think that by proving your devotion, you'll win her back. But this only accelerates the decline. You are confused because you followed every rule of polite society, yet you're being met with coldness. You don't understand that by making yourself a completely known, safe, and predictable quantity, you have removed the chase that female psychology requires to maintain high level desire. Here is the brutal, uncomfortable truth that 97% of men refuse to accept. For a woman to remain loyal, stay deeply in love, and genuinely desire you, she must never feel 100% secure in your affection. This sounds counterintuitive, even toxic to the average man, but it is rooted in deep biological reality. Tension is the oxygen of attraction. When you give a woman everything up front, your time, your money, and your total emotional submission, you become a conquered territory. There is no mystery left to solve and no mountain left for her to climb. The moment a woman realizes she has won you completely and that you will never leave no matter how she treats you, she subconsciously loses respect for you. And for a woman, it is psychologically impossible to be attracted to a man she does not respect. True attraction thrives in the space between I want him and I hope I can keep him. When you play the perfect gentleman to an extreme, you eliminate that vital gap of uncertainty. You've positioned yourself as her subordinate, someone who is constantly auditioning for her approval rather than being the prize she has to earn. She needs to feel that you are a man of high value, with other options and a life of your own. A man who chooses to be with her, but doesn't need to be with her. The second she stops reaching upward to deserve your attention, the dynamic shifts. She no longer sees you as the dominant lead in the story. She sees you as a fan. And a woman will never truly desire her biggest fan. To keep her interest, you must remain a challenge. You must be the man who provides warmth, but keeps a core of steel that she can never fully tame. The moment the challenge dies, the attraction dies right along with it. The biology of value. To truly understand why your perfect gentleman tactics are failing, you have to look past modern dating apps and fancy dinners and peer into the deep, primal history of the human species. This isn't about being a pickup artist, playing mind games, or being intentionally cruel. It's about acknowledging the cold, hard reality of evolutionary biology. For millions of years, survival was a brutal daily struggle, and women were biologically incentivized to be the most selective creatures on the planet. Because pregnancy and child rearing made a woman vulnerable, her survival and the survival of her offspring depended entirely on the quality of the man she chose. She didn't have the luxury of falling for a nice guy just because he was sweet or brought her gifts. In the harsh environment of our ancestors, A man who prioritized being nice over being powerful, protective, and resourceful was a death sentence. The women who chose the people pleasers didn't survive the winter, and their genetic lines ended right there. Consequently, every woman alive today is the descendant of a long line of women who successfully filtered for high survival value. This ancient biological software is called hypergamy, and it is the most powerful force in the dating world. Even though we now live in a modern society with grocery stores, police forces, and government safety nets, a woman's subconscious mind is still operating on that same ancient code. She isn't consciously looking for a hunter gatherer, but her brain is still scanning every single one of your behaviors for signs of strength, social status, and leadership. When you act needy, when you are overly accommodating, or when you show desperation, you're sending a loud, clear signal to her subconscious that you have low survival value. In the primal mind, a man who begs for attention or is afraid to lose a woman is a man who lacks the status to attract others. To her biology, this makes you a weak bet for the future. You might think you're being romantic, but her DNA sees a man who wouldn't be able to protect the tribe or command respect from other men. When these low value signals are sent, something devastating happens. Her attraction circuitry literally shuts down. This isn't a choice she makes, it's a physiological response. You cannot nice your way out of a biological rejection. When she perceives that your value is lower than hers, or even just equal to hers, she loses the ability to feel sexual desire for you. This is why you see women gravitating toward men who seem indifferent, busy, or even a bit edgy. It's not that they like being treated poorly, it's that those behaviors signal a man who is not afraid of losing her because he has high value and other options. He represents the strong bet. He is the man whose genes would have survived the harsh winters of the past. Understanding this biological framework is the key to escaping the nice guy trap. You have to realize that you are fighting against millions of years of evolutionary pressure. Every time you overtext, every time you apologize for things you didn't do, and every time you put her on a pedestal, you are triggering her ancient flight response. You are telling her subconscious that you are a subordinate, not a leader. To keep her attracted, you must align yourself with the traits that have always signaled high survival value: decisiveness, emotional independence, and a refusal to compromise your mission for her approval. Once you understand that her attraction is tied to your perceived strength and status, you stop trying to buy her love with flowers and start earning her respect through your masculine presence. You have to be the man who can survive the winter, not the man who just hopes she stays. Perceived value versus actual assets. When most men hear the term sexual market value, SMV, they immediately think of their resume or their bank statement. They assume that if they can just check the right boxes, buy the luxury car, build the six pack, secure the six-figure salary, and wear the designer suit, that attraction will follow as a mathematical certainty. They view dating like a transaction. I have these assets, therefore I am high value. While these external factors certainly help you get your foot in the door, they are not the primary drivers of long-term desire. You have to understand that perceived value is infinitely more powerful than actual value. A woman's attraction isn't triggered by what you have on paper. It is triggered by how she feels when she is around you and how she interprets your behavior. You can have all the money in the world, but if your behavior screams scarcity and insecurity, your external assets become irrelevant. Her subconscious mind ignores the BMW in the driveway if the man sitting in the driver's seat is constantly begging for her approval. To see this in action, look at the classic example of the successful, high-earning lawyer. He's got the prestigious job, he drives the $80,000 car, and he's in great shape. On paper, his SMV is through the roof. But when he dates, he treats a woman like she is the center of his universe. He wines and dines her at the most expensive restaurants every night, showers her with compliments, and makes himself available the second she calls. He thinks he's investing in the relationship, But what he's actually doing is telegraphing that he is terrified of losing her. He is using his assets to buy her time because he doesn't believe his personality is enough to keep her. Despite all his money and success, women consistently lose interest in him after a few weeks. Why? Because his behavior signals that his internal value is low. He acts like a man who has no other options, and a woman's hypergamous instinct cannot stay attracted to a man who feels lucky to be with her. Now, contrast that lawyer with the bartender who lives in a cramped studio apartment and rides a bike to work. On a purely material level, his assets are lower than the lawyer's. However, this man possesses a rock solid abundance mindset. He doesn't put women on pedestals. When he takes a girl out, they go to a casual coffee shop or a local dive bar because he knows his company is the main event, not the price of the meal. He playfully teases her. He doesn't freak out if she takes 5 hours to reply to a text, and he never cancels his own plans just to accommodate her schedule. He treats his time as his most precious resource. Because he carries himself like a man who has a line of women waiting to see him, her subconscious labels him as high value. She becomes obsessed with him because she feels like she has to work to stay on his radar. He doesn't need her validation to feel like a man. Instead, she finds herself constantly seeking his validation to prove she's special enough to keep his attention. The lesson here is direct and undeniable. Women are far more attracted to the signals of high value than the actual objects of wealth. Your car and your career are just props. Your behavior is the performance. If you have the car but act like a servant, you are a low value man in a nice suit. If you have nothing but act like a king who is selective about his queen, you are a high value man in a t shirt. This is why you see average guys with stunning women all the time. They understand that attraction is a psychological game of positioning. It's about how you carry yourself, how you handle her tests, and most importantly, how much you seem to need her. The man who needs nothing is the man who eventually gets everything, because his lack of neediness is the ultimate proof of high status. Stop trying to show her what you own and start showing her that you are a man of abundance who cannot be easily bought, sold, or controlled. The power of uncertainty. The second golden rule of attraction is a fundamental law of human nature. We value what we are uncertain about and take for granted what we are sure of. In your attempt to be the perfect gentleman, you likely make the fatal mistake of being 100% available, 100% predictable, and 100% transparent. You think that by showing your hand early and proving your devotion, you're making her feel secure. In reality, you are removing every ounce of mystery and challenge from the equation. Psychology teaches us that the human brain is biologically wired to ignore things that are constant and guaranteed. If she knows exactly how you feel, exactly when you'll text, and exactly what you're doing every Saturday night, her mind has no reason to work for you. You have effectively become a solved puzzle. The moment there is no more mystery to uncover, her curiosity dies. And where curiosity dies, attraction quickly follows. If she doesn't have to invest any effort to win your attention, that attention becomes worthless in her eyes. It's like a video game with no difficulty levels. If you win without trying, you stop playing. This concept is backed by a psychological principle known as intermittent reinforcement, which is the same mechanism that makes gambling so addictive. In a laboratory setting, if a lab rat presses a lever and gets a treat every single time, it eventually gets bored and stops pressing. But if the rat presses the lever and only gets a treat sometimes, it becomes obsessed. It will press that lever until it collapses from exhaustion because the uncertainty of the reward creates a powerful dopamine loop. Dating works the exact same way. Predictable rewards, like you texting her back within 30 seconds every single time, are boring. They don't trigger any emotional spikes. However, unpredictable rewards are addictive. When you maintain a level of mystery, perhaps by waiting a few hours to reply because you're actually busy with your own life, or by not always being available for a last-minute date, you trigger her attraction circuitry. Her mind starts racing with questions. Is he with someone else? Did I say something wrong? Why hasn't he called yet? This mental occupation is the secret sauce of deep attraction. While you're away, she is doing the work of falling for you in her own head. You must view your validation and your attention as a high value currency. Any economist will tell you that when a government prints too much money, the currency loses its purchasing power and the economy crashes. This is called inflation. In dating, if you print too much validation by showering her with constant compliments, being overly eager to please, and constantly checking in, you cause your own value to crash. You are flooding the market with your attention, making it cheap and common. To keep your value high, you must create scarcity. This isn't about being mean or playing games. It's about having a life that is so fulfilling and a purpose that is so demanding that you cannot be available every second of the day. When your attention is scarce, it becomes a precious commodity. When you finally do give her a compliment or spend time with her, it feels like a hard won victory for her, rather than a participation trophy. Ultimately, the power of uncertainty is about maintaining your independence and your frame. When you are a man of mystery, you are an unexplored continent. She wants to be the one to map it out, to understand you, and to win your heart. But the second you lay it all out for her on a silver platter, the journey is over. To keep a woman genuinely hooked, you must allow her the space to wonder about you. You must let her experience the sting of your absence so that she can truly appreciate the warmth of your presence. Stop being the guy who is always waiting by the phone and start being the man whose time is a luxury. If she has to wonder where she stands with you, she will invest more energy into making sure she stands exactly where she wants to be, right by your side. If you want her to value you, you must give her the opportunity to miss you. The shift to overt communication. To understand how to keep a woman's interest long term, you have to recognize the massive shift in how she communicates when she perceives you as a high value man. Normally, women communicate through covert channels. They drop subtle hints, use body language, or expect you to read between the lines. If she's not entirely sure of your value yet, she stays in this safe zone where she doesn't have to risk much. But the moment she genuinely fears losing you, the game changes completely. She abandons the guessing games and switches to overt communication. This is a psychological pivot where she becomes direct, clear, and highly affectionate. She stops waiting for you to lead every interaction and starts initiating. You'll see a surge in texts that say, "I miss you," or she'll check in on your day constantly without you prompting her. She is no longer trying to test you, she is trying to keep you. This shift happens because her hypergamous instincts have received a wake up call. When you maintain your mystery and refuse to be a predictable nice guy, her subconscious begins to suspect that you might be a much higher value man than she initially estimated. Her biology whispers that a man who doesn't chase her, who doesn't beg for her time, and who stays focused on his own mission must have other options, and that makes you a rare commodity. In the world of hypergamy, losing a high value man to another woman is the ultimate failure. To prevent this, she switches to overt communication to lock you down. She becomes more direct with her feelings and more obvious with her attraction because she can no longer afford to play it cool. She needs to ensure she is still at the top of your list, so she starts investing her energy into you with a level of transparency you've never seen before. This is where most men get it completely wrong. They think that to achieve this level of devotion, they need to focus entirely on external improvements. They spend all their time at the gym, obsess over getting a better job, or think they need to become a millionaire to be enough for a stunning woman. While those things are great and might help you get her attention initially, essentially getting you in the door, they are not what keeps her there. You can be the richest, most muscular guy in the room and still lose her if you display low value behaviors. Psychological positioning is the real secret to long term attraction. It's not about how much money is in your bank account, it's about how much power you give away. If you reveal all your cards too early, if you show her that you're completely obsessed and have no other interests, you destroy the tension that keeps her interested. To maintain your position as a high value man, you must learn to keep your cards close to your chest. You don't need to be a billionaire. You just need to be a man who isn't easily figured out. By not oversharing your emotions or being too available, you force her to stay in a state of active pursuit. When she has to wonder where she stands, her mind stays occupied with thoughts of you. This mental occupation is what fuels her desire to communicate overtly. She is essentially trying to bridge the gap you've created with your mystery. If you give her everything she wants the second she asks for it, she has no reason to be direct or affectionate. But when you master the art of psychological positioning, you create a dynamic where she feels lucky to have your attention. She will work harder to please you, stay more loyal, and be more vocal about her feelings because she truly believes that a man like you is a prize she can't afford to lose.